there is no shortage of Africans who can give you that money, because there is no free lunch. Because nobody does anything in this cutthroat world where throats are actually cut without having an input.
Hello. Just last month, I traveled to COP27 in Egypt, where I announced $150 million in an effort to support adaptation efforts in Africa. Here we announced our intention to collectively mobilize $600 billion in the next 5 years. Partnership for global infrastructure and investment projects already underway in Africa, including mobilizing $8 billion in public and private finance to help South Africa replace coal-fired power plants with renewable energy sources and develop cutting-edge energy solutions like clean hydrogen. A deal worth $2 billion to build solar energy projects in Angola. $600 million in high-speed communications cable that will connect. I'm announcing that the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation is investing nearly $370 million in new projects. $100 million to increase the reliable, clean energy for millions of people in sub-Saharan Africa. $20 million to provide financing. $10 million to support small and medium. Congress to invest $350 billion to facilitate more than jointly announcing $800 million in new contracts to protect African countries from Visa is committing to putting more than $1 billion into Africa over the next. General Electric and Standard Bank will provide $80 million to.
Decolonizing the mind. We must recognize that we live in a global world that we cannot escape. We must recognize that we are going to relate with other civilizations that we cannot escape. We must recognize that we are going to work with the Chinese, with the English, with the French, with the Americans, with the Indians, and with the Arabs, and that if we do not work smart, they will outsmart us. Because everybody does what is in their best interest. Has Africa defined what is in her best interest? I'm submitting that we have not. If we have defined it very narrowly as Tanzanians. But what is Tanzania in the scheme of things? What is the economic power of Tanzania in the scheme of things? At the very best, the GDP of Tanzania last year must be below 50 billion United States dollars. I am quite certain that one of the big boxers in the United States of America can earn that in a year. What is the economy of Kenya in the scheme of things at $60 billion, or Burundi or Togo? Perhaps the advertisement budget of Coca-Cola is bigger than the budget of all East African countries combined. That is the truth, because I'm submitting to you that the Indian economy alone is bigger than all the economies of African countries combined. India alone. Brazil's economy alone is bigger than all our countries combined. That is why you see when the Chinese president invites African president, all of them, without exception, run to Beijing very quickly. And when they get to Beijing, they are given $60 billion, all of them, the 55 of them, to share. And I ask myself, why don't you ask Nigeria's Aliko Dangote? You don't have to move. Aliko will give you $60 billion. He has it. And if he doesn't have it, you ask Patrick Motsepe from South Africa to add a little more. And if you didn't ask him, and may his soul rest in peace before he passed on, you asked Reginald Mengi here to add a little more. He could. And if it is not much, there is no shortage of Africans who can give you that money, because there is no free lunch. Because nobody does anything in this cutthroat world where throats are actually cut without having an interest.